Welcome to the 1 week till it counts edition of Sharing Sox, also opening day of March Madness, because we're recording this an opening day of spring.
That's
on,
true.
Thursday the 20th, before the game, before the White Sox game. I am duty geezer Leigh Allan. With me, my son and West Coast correspondent for this week, Will, who will become the Ohio Valley correspondent for the next couple of months. He heads to Cincinnati for a play called Birthday Candles at Cincinnati Playhouse in the Park, which sounds like it's fun. So,
right by Great American Ballpark. So I will be doing some secret intel on the Reds while I'm there.
Well, you get to see a great baseball player, and I hope he has a decent day with you. But Ellie De La Cruz is fantastic.
I will also get to see what I am guessing will be one of the least populated games of the year when the White Sox play at Cincinnati in May with a 12:40 p.m. Thursday game. I might be the only fan there during the school year.
Maybe your sister. Will's sister works almost across the street from the stadium in a high rise in downtown Cincinnati. She can see into the ballpark from her office.
She'll be able to see just me. Yeah.
Speaking of fans at ballparks, I looked at, because obviously single game tickets are on sale now. I looked at opening day.
Okay. Because
they're only showing you the tickets that weren't sold either as singles at this point, because they've been on sale for a while, or season tickets. Their season tickets are in trouble. I mean, on opening day, there are thousands and thousands of seats available. And a lot of the ones who are not available are the very back of the upper deck, and I'm guessing they're just not selling those. They're trying to get people down to look more full.
Oh, right. That is crazy, because even when the White Sox have been terrible in the past, opening day is always full and expensive.
Yeah, last year was not sold out, but it was close. This year, I don't think it's going to be close. Forecast is for 49 degrees. That's not, hey, let's go to the ballpark weather. So,
as someone who worked for the Los Angeles Dodgers until 5 days ago, I have to say the idea of an opening day not being sold out is mind-blowing. I believe the cheapest tickets for the Dodgers in the secondhand market for an opening day Thursday game against the Tigers is $189.
Whoa.
And that's just to get in the ballpark. If you want to have a seat at field level, you're paying over $1,000 most likely. Obviously, the Dodgers have more things going for them than the White Sox do currently. But, crazy. And also, I guess we should acknowledge that Major League Baseball season has already started.
Right. And in fact, the White Sox right now are a full game ahead of the Cubs.
The White Sox are leading the American League right now, just because the only team with losses is in the National League. So the only team with wins is in the National League. So the White Sox are currently atop the American League with everybody else.
In fair tied, yes.
But yeah, we had 2 baseball games in Japan. Pretty exciting. I did not stay up to watch them at 3:00 in the morning LA time. I know a lot of people who did. They were relatively interesting. I mean, crazy. The fandom surrounding the Dodgers in Japan is unlike anything we've ever seen for Major League Baseball. So that's pretty cool. It's exciting to see. And this will segue me into something with the White Sox. So I watched a little special about all the food and drink offerings at the Tokyo Dome for Major League Baseball's opening weekend Tokyo series. And obviously it just looks incredible. Incredible cuisine at the Tokyo Dome for that series. The White Sox, surprisingly, bringing in a lot of Korean influence in the new stadium food offerings this year. Have you gotten a chance to look at these?
I didn't look. I should have. White Sox, horrible though the entire organization is in every other aspect, they do well with food.
And honestly, This is better, at least from the looks of it. Of course, the pictures of what you're going to get at the stadium often differ dramatically from the item that's handed across the concession stand to you. They're doing another milkshake, another trying to get people in. I believe it's a birthday cake shake this year, which doesn't seem quite as universally appealing as the s'mores milkshake, but it's still there. But they're leaning hard into the Korean corn dog culture.
Wow.
Which
It's
is
not like we have any Korean players.
I know. It's very strange.
Or that there's a huge Korean community. I mean, we have a fair-sized Korean community, as you know, right near where your mother and I live. A couple blocks away is probably the best Korean chicken place in America. And now a couple other Korean places have opened a couple blocks south of that and one a block north. So we must be getting more Koreans into our neck of the woods. And certainly there's a big Korean community out in Niles area, kind of the immediate northwest suburbs. You got a lot of Korean restaurants up there, and the H Mart, the famous Korean supermarket.
Well, I am not sure why the White Sox are leaning hard into this. I mean, one answer is Korean food is spectacularly
really
delicious,
yeah.
And Koreans have kind of, really mastered this sort of food on the go in between category as well recently. I would say of all the new items I looked at, and there was probably about 15, I would say half of them were Korean foods, or Korean based foods. And they all look absolutely delicious. Absolutely delicious. And also a couple new dessert items as well. They're doing like a strawberry ice cream nacho situation, which looks truly delicious as well. The nachos are like
churros. I mean, they're churro
they're like a cinnamon cracker kind of nacho. Just looks spectacular. But the Korean influence on the food this year at the rate is major. It's major, and that's usually actually a sign, I would say, that you're going to have pretty good ballpark food. A lot of teams have been, peppering in some of this. The Dodgers, of course, have some Korean food in the stadium. Most of it was new last year, but seeing the White Sox jump on the bandwagon for that is pretty cool. It definitely was the first thing I've seen that made me want to maybe go to a game there. I'm allergic to almost all of it, but just the smells and the sights of this stuff, it all looks absolutely delicious. So sounds like they're trying to lure people in with some more creative food offerings. The White Sox have always been a pretty good food ballpark.
And decent and food wise, not drink wise, but food wise, decently priced for an event location.
Yeah.
Well priced food.
Of course, now everything is so inflated. I was just talking to someone about this at Dodger Stadium, and everything outside of the ballpark so inflated that the prices for food in Dodger Stadium actually are comparable or cheaper than what they are on the outside. The beer, of course, is still absolutely absurd. I don't think you're getting a beer at Dodger Stadium this year for under $20, which is bonkers to me. Tokyo Dome, the large beers were running $6. It was in yen, but I did the conversion chart. But yeah, White Sox, I don't know what the beers are going to run this year. I think they're getting up there, but
I mean, they're in the low teens. They've been in the low teens lately. So
yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot when you're a bad team and no one wants to go. That's a really expensive beer. I would assume we're going to see some deals on that as the season progresses. Once we hit the 50 loss mark, the 75, and the 100.
Well, they're not going to hit the 100 loss mark till July, so there's plenty of time to go with that.
Yeah, exactly. They should actually correspond the beer prices to the losses. If you get to 100 losses, then the next day the beer is 100 pennies, and you're going to sell out a game. You got dollar beer, you're going to sell well. Good gimmick like that.
Yeah, well, the nickel beer night has been tried. It was not a good idea. That was in Cleveland. It was not a good idea.
famously bad idea. And I think it would go just as well for 100-penny beer night after the 100th loss for the White Sox this year. I think a lot of people would end up in jail.
Well, we've talked about the good stuff, which is the food. Unfortunately, we have to talk about the team since we're a week from opening day. They're in spring training. You say, well, what happens in spring training? Your spring training record doesn't matter, which is true enough. I think during the 7 years in the wilderness, the Robin Ventura years, they had a couple winning spring trainings. 2005 team lost. They were 14 and 18, something like that. So that didn't tell you anything. And it's true of all other teams. But the White Sox record at this point, not including the loss in the spring breakout game, is 8-16. And you know what? I think this is a meaningful spring training record. That's 1-2, right? Winning 130 games, 333, which would equate to in the regular season 54 and 108. And that's what I'm going to predict.
I think you're crazy. I think it's low. Spring training, first off, you're absolutely right. Spring training matters zilch. It is.
Some of the individual records matter, but the team record matters not a bit.
Yeah, team record matters not at all. Individual, it's all just about tuning up. I memean, you get guys who hit gangbusters in the spring and then start the year hitting 100. You have just the opposite. 8-16 as a spring training record. Of course, we are saying this with the knowledge that it does not matter. But I think that is better than the actual season's going to go. The reason for that is most of the time in spring training, you're not facing all major leaguers.
I was going to get into some of those stats, particularly for the hitters, because there are two even scarier than normal things, which is that Luis Robert was hitting a ton. I mean, just a ton early in spring training. His OPS is like 1.2. Of course, you were facing either minor league pitchers or major league pitchers who just kind of get loose.
Who aren't stretched out at all yet.
Yeah. So you're facing very, very low level of hitting. And he was hitting a ton. Now he is down to a 796 OPS, which is fine if that continues, but it means he's had about a 400 OPS for the last week or 10 days. He's falling apart. Andrew Vaughn, at a time that I did a look at the stats, which was a week ago because I wrote a column about it, was hitting 300. He's already down to 240. Where I'm
229.
229. Okay. Those two, really the only, because Benintendi never did hit last year until September. The only guys you'd go, oh yeah, well that just would be some good hitters. I think it's a very, very bad sign that they're getting much worse as spring training goes on.
Well, and Vaughn's particularly bad problem too, right? Because he's got the fourth most at bats on the team in spring training. So yeah, I mean, 35 at bats is not a massive sample size, but it's not like he's one of these guys where he just started kind of getting in the game. And his OPS is 546, which is terrible. And another big issue here is it's spring training. You're facing a lot of minor league pitching. To not hit the ball out of the ballpark once.
He has one double.
Is really bad. He's got one double. He's got no home runs. Of course, he has no triples.
Not only weak pitching, but you've got that Arizona air.
And he's only knocked in two guys. So definitely not on the right track for Andrew Vaughn. He's just looking absolutely terrible. Robert is the same situation. Average is down to 243 in spring training, which is just not great. Now he has hit the ball out of the ballpark twice. So that's
early
at least. Yeah, he hit them both out pretty early. He's got one stolen base. He's got one double. He's only got 9 hits in all of spring training, which is
13 strikeouts.
Really nothing to write home about. 13 strikeouts. versus 6 walks, which 6 walks is kind of encouraging for him. His on-base percentage is 364. If you told me we were going to get a 364 on-base percentage from Luis Robert, I'm pretty comfortable with that. That's puts you better than a lot of Major League Baseball players. Doesn't put you in the realm of getting a massive trade return. But it does, it's decent. It's not bad. I mean, guys who have 400 on-base percentages are elite. So it's not terrible.
I believe I said, I don't think it was on this show. I think it was, we were just texting with each other. There was a day when Luis was pummeling the ball. I said, trade him today. Trade him before tomorrow's game. Trade him.
Yeah.
And since then, I don't know if he has a hit. They should have listened to me. They just never listen.
Yeah, he has gone ice cold. There's a lot of guys who there's just major concern with the way things are trending. Of course, Joey Gallo didn't even make it out. He is now changing careers apparently to become a pitcher. So
that'll be interesting to follow.
That will be interesting to follow because he does have an arm. So he's only 31, which is an interesting thing about Joey Gallo. In my head, Joey Gallo's 45. Yeah, I feel like I've been watching Joey Gallo bat 150 at the major league level for half of my life, but apparently it's only been a few years, which is crazy. So it will be interesting to see if he can turn that into something else. I'm not expecting it necessarily. But it's possible it could happen. Other people who are really struggling, let's keep talking to struggling guys before we go into the kind of pleasant surprises, because there have been some.
There have been some very positive surprises.
But on the bad end of things, Dominic Fletcher looks absolutely terrible. Absolutely abysmal.
Yeah, I mean, he's done because they've got the two good fielding outfielders now who are also can't really hit, but Michael Taylor and the guy they just picked up who made the super catch on Vaughn last year to keep the our Eastern European just signed a few days ago.
Our Eastern European who signed 2 days ago.
Well, he's not really an Eastern European, but an Eastern European name.
Oh, okay. Tauchman, probably.
No, Tauchman's been around, and he is a bitter disappointment. He's hitting 194.
Deloach, probably not, right?
No. Oh gosh, Jankowski.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Now he's only had a couple at bats, but if you've had an outfield of Jankowski, Robert, and Taylor out there, that's the best defensive outfield in the major leagues.
It is. It absolutely is.
They may not drive in more than 11 runs between them for the season, but that's a heck of a defensive outfield. And that actually makes the team more watchable when you got guys racing all over and catching fly balls.
You're absolutely covering a lot of ground there. You're doing
now your infield, and the outfield's got to be really, really loose because they got to get all the balls that have gone through the infield, which can't field at all. Infield defense is going to be horrible. Brandon Drury's got to play because he's hitting a ton, and he keeps hitting a ton, and he's been a good hitter other than last year. He's not a good fielder. Any of the many, utility guy can't field any of it. Vaughn obviously can't field. I think they got to make him a DH. Vargas sort of can field, so maybe he goes to third. Sosa can't field at all, but he's really hitting. So at least until they see what happens in the regular season, he's got to play. Shortstop.
I don't think we have one. It's interesting that ESPN just, I think a few days ago, put out their list of Rookie of the Year predictions. And Colson Montgomery was at the top of the list.
Yeah, I saw that too. Really? Because he's not going to be in the majors. Maybe he'll be the Rookie of the Year in AAA.
Well, they do say that in the article. They say, these guys aren't guys who are starting in the majors. These are kind of their predictions for guys who aren't starting in the majors who could win Rookie of the Year. And he was number one on that list. But number one. And, they're expecting him up in May, sort of, is what it seems like. And then to be great from there on out. Obviously, you can come up later in the year and win Rookie of the Year. We saw it with Paul Skeens, of course. In no way am I comparing what I expect from Colson Montgomery to what I expected of Paul Skeens.
No.
But yeah, I'm guessing at some point he's got to play Major League Baseball, because otherwise I don't know who's going to play shortstop at all. Maybe we're not going to have one.
He did, and the Keith Law's big thing is every scout I talked to says he can't play shortstop at the major league level. Yeah. Now he did. I watched the breakout game. It was on MLB TV, I guess. He made one very nice play there, hard to his right, and a good strong throw over. But one real nice play does not a great position make. And yeah, when he comes up, then there's another guy to float between first, second, and third, and who knows what.
I mean, you got to play someone there. So even if he's not great there, you still got to put a warm body at shortstop. And honestly, in Major League Baseball now, there's only a handful of like truly elite defensive shortstops these days. It's just not something. Offense is just what rules everything. So they're just trying to find guys who can kind of hold their own and get on base on the other side. Let's take our break there, though. Let's come back. We'll talk about some things that are looking good, and we'll talk about the pitching side of things, because we have not touched on that, including our opening day starter, which has been named. So hang in there, and we will be right back on Sharing Sox. Welcome back to Sharing Sox. We touched on the ballpark food and then the ballpark bad that we are expecting from the White Sox in this upcoming season. But you briefly mentioned it before we went to the break. What the heck is going on with Brandon Drury?
I mean, he's hitting that. He's doing really well.
1.260 OPS. He's hitting 410. He has the most of this. Isn't even like a weird sample size. He has the most at bats of anyone in spring training for the White Sox. 16 hits for 39. He's got 7 doubles already. 7 doubles. He's got 3 home runs. He's striking out at strikeout to walk is 6-2, which is not great, but also if you're doing all those other things, who cares?
It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. You strike out all you want, walk as little as you want. If you're going to bat 410 with a 439 on base percentage, Brandon Drury, not a name I expected us to even remotely care about at this point. If you told me last year we'd be sitting here talking about Brandon Drury being one of the best hitters in all of Major League Baseball during spring training, I'd be like, you're on glue, man. You're just not even close here. So Brandon Drury's obviously got to play for the Chicago White Sox this year, right? You can't not have him. You got a guy who hits 410 and you're the worst team in baseball. Miguel Vargas hitting very well. 343. He's got a 400 on base percentage. His OPS is 886. This is the same guy who was the laughing stock of the internet last year from the meme of him looking sad after being traded from the Dodgers to the White Sox. Now, I've said this before. I'll say it again. If people are like, oh, that sucks so much for Miguel Vargas is not playing for the Dodgers this year. Miguel Vargas is not playing for most teams this year. So this is a guy who maybe is taking the opportunity that has been presented to him to be an everyday Major League Baseball starter. I don't know. I'm of course, it's spring training. You have no idea what's going to happen in the regular season. But I don't hate what we're seeing from Miguel Vargas. He's also known for being a good clubhouse guy. He was a clubhouse favorite in Los Angeles, which, when you're playing on a team with a bunch of guys who are all better than you and you're a clubhouse favorite, kind of tells you that maybe you're kind of a special guy behind the scenes. I'm excited to see what happens with Miguel Vargas moving forward.
I think it probably, of course, Benintendi just started. He'd been hurt, so he just has played one game. Um, Josh Rojas is out, probably not for very long. He's got this hairline fracture in his toe, but he's going to miss the opening. I wouldn't be. We've got a lot of these utility guys. Drury is one of them. Vargas is one of them. These guys who play all over the field, not necessarily very well, but enough to get by. Rojas is another one of them. One of these guys made up in the outfield. Now, if Benintendi is claiming a spot in left because we're paying him $15 million a year and we have to play him because otherwise we look silly, then you end up in right with Tauchman's hitting 190. He was originally the guy they were saying it's going to be Tauchman and Slater platoon, but Slater's worse. Slater can't hit anything.
Not only is Tauchman only hitting 194, but he's also striking out at like a 40% clip, which is just crazy in spring training to be striking out at that rate. It's awful.
Yeah, I they've got more cuts to make. I think they're down to 40 as of the time that we're recording this. They just sent 11 back down a couple days ago. So they got to get from 40 to 26 in the next week.
Michael Taylor's really challenging too, because Michael Taylor's striking out at a 50% clip, which is just insanity for a guy that we're kind of expecting to make the major league roster. I mean, he's never been a great hitter, to be honest, but
but a few years ago he was adequate.
Yeah, he's definitely like lived in the kind of like just below league average range. But man, striking out 50% of the time spring training is rough. You're facing a lot of guys who aren't going to play Major League Baseball this year, and you're striking out at a 50% clip. That's pretty brutal. But we are, as you go down this list, a couple of the catchers are hitting well in spring training. Corey Lee is hitting well in spring training.
All four catchers.
The catchers are great.
Now, two of them have been sent down. The two would-be rookies, Caro and Teal, have been sent down for a while. One of them will come up, at least one. Yeah. But all four catchers are hitting well. Unfortunately, you can't play four catchers. It doesn't make for a good defensive lineup.
It does not. It's challenging. But the fact that you could even have, if you're in a rebuild and if I'm running a team in a rebuild and you told me I had 4 potential major league catchers right now, ooh, that's good. That's
and I think Hackenberg's hitting a ton too. It's like, and maybe Narvaez. It's like all the catchers really did well, and the rest of the team, with exceptions of guys we've talked about, there've been some guys that have been really excellent, and that Drury and Vargas being that looks good part of the team.
The idea that you could have 4 catchers who are potentially major league quality, which of course is still a massive stretch based off spring training samples, but that's trade bait, right there. Everybody's always looking for a catcher who can just put the bat on the ball. And if you somehow end up, a few months from now with 4 guys who can clearly do that, you don't need 4 catchers. So you're in a really good shape to flip those guys for some potential pieces.
Well, you got one veteran who they're going to flip at the deadline as a backup catcher. He's not going to be starting for anybody. And then Teal will probably come up before Caro, but it kind of depends how they're doing so far in the season.
Right. Yeah. But man, catcher's looking good. So let's talk about pitching though, because someone's got to throw the ball to those catchers.
Sean Burke is going to be the opening day starter. He has looked very, very good. You talk about your pleasant surprises. Sean Burke is definitely a pleasant surprise. He's been great.
Well, we definitely last year on this podcast, we definitely said Sean Burke is a guy with a lot of potential. He was not there yet when we were discussing it, but we definitely said this is a guy who has a lot of potential to be a major league pitcher. Still young. I watched the little video. I don't know if you saw it of Venable letting Burke know that he's going to be the opening day starter. And it's very sweet. It definitely, gives you a tiny glimpse into what the culture might be like. And it does seem like Venable is bringing a a nice culture to this organization on that side of things. Obviously too early to tell how he is as a manager when it comes to the games themselves. But even from these little videos you see on Instagram and online, definitely seems like a guy that the players are buying into pretty well. And that's just so crucial, as we know, with this organization, to have a manager that the players don't, despise.
It'd be better to have good players who are buying into it, but still, even to get the mediocre ones to be average, it's an accomplishment.
Yeah.
Other pitchers, starting pitchers, Martin Perez, I'm sorry, has looked good. He's had a solid spring, and he's the veteran to hold it together. I guess he'll be the clubhouse guy for pitching staff. Davis Martin's been fine. The big disappointment, and boy, he is getting clobbered every time, is Jonathan Cannon. And he looked so good. I remember watching one game last year on TV, and everything he threw broke late. I mean, batters were mystified. Everything was breaking big and late. And I believe I texted you. I said, "This Cannon's got it. I mean, this is remarkable." We maybe even talked about it on the show. And boy, he has got nothing. He can't control anything. If it's not wild, it's wild in the zone, and he's getting clobbered. His ERA has consistently been in double figures.
I mean, he's at a 10.32 ERA. He's at 22 hits in 11 and a third innings, which is just abysmal. Weirdly, control isn't the problem.
It's wild in the zone stuff, as they say.
Walked 3 guys. Yeah, he just is not putting the ball at all where it needs to be in the zone. He's not walking a lot of guys. He's keeping the ball in the zone, but he's clearly throwing meatball after meatball after meatball. 22 hits in 11 innings is crazy.
A lot of those by minor leaguers.
Yeah, including 4 home runs. I mean, that's just and I think he actually has also hit 3 guys.
Yeah, he's hit a few.
So, a whip of 2.21, obviously you are not playing Major League Baseball with a whip of 2.21. That's just crazy. So I don't know what's going on with Cannon. That could be an injury thing. He's just regressed so hard. Now it's super early, but again, if it were the regular season, it's easy to say, he doesn't pitch well in cold, stuff like that. But obviously that's not what they're dealing with this spring training. He's facing mostly minor leaguers, and he's getting absolutely shelled out there. Pitching is a big problem. Pitching is going to be a really
number 5 starter. Is they say it's a battle between Shane Smith and Bryce Wilson. Wilson sporting a 4.09 ERA, but a 1.64 WHIP. That's not attractive.
Closer.
And Smith has a 5.40 ERA, so neither one of them is looking very good.
No, not at all. I mean,
they're striking out plenty of people, but again, a lot of those are minor leaguers.
Yeah, and people strike out a lot in spring training. They do. They're still trying to
get their swing, get their rhythm in.
Yeah. It's just takes some guys a little more time. I mean, 50% is definitely a clip where I'm like, this isn't warm up territory. This is you don't know how to hit anymore territory. But again, it's still early, still not sure. Starting pitching looks weak. The bullpen, I mean,
who was it? Was it ESPN or The Athletic? One of them said, or just one of the guys who does, maybe Law, or one of those kind of guys that does the big prognostications for the season. The worst bullpen they've ever graded in the history of looking at it. Oh, there's maybe Pagoda, the worst they've ever seen.
I mean, that seems correct. I don't know, like what you could say that would make me think that we shouldn't expect the worst bullpen at least in Major League Baseball this year. I just don't I don't see any signs of hope for the bullpen whatsoever. All of the potential pitching successes seem to be more in the starter category. So
And then on the guys that may come
know.
up, first possible one brought up, and it'll be interesting to see how they play. This, of course, is Noah Schultz. I watched him in the spring breakout game. Neither he nor Smith looked like, wow, that's Chris Sale out there.
Yeah.
You know, they're the two big, hard-throwing lefties. Didn't look like, or Garrett Crochet, last year's Garrett Crochet.
Yeah.
They were fine. They pitched well, but they weren't just decimating the opposing team. But they will. I mean, they're just getting into it. Do you bring up Schultz? Do you play the games with team control?
Service time. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think, particularly if at the end of May the team is 12-48, do you say, well, there's no sense bringing this kid up? And the other thing with the pitching that we have to be fair about the pitchers, if you have no infield defensively, and they've been the worst defensive infield for years.
Yeah.
Probably going back to when Alexei was a shortstop. You're trying to get your pitchers to throw ground balls because you're in a very small stadium, especially for all your home games. Then they throw ground balls and nobody catches them. It's got to be really frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other thing you unfortunately have to keep in mind with pitching and with the glimpses of any, forward positive movement with pitchers is they're almost all going to have Tommy John.
Yeah.
It's just the way baseball is.
Well, you've already got, not on Tommy John, but Drew Thorpe's already out for probably a fair amount of the start of the season. He was going to be one of the 5 starters.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. He was. Yeah. No, that was a big loss. I mean, honestly, because your season is lost before it even starts here, just do whatever you can to keep everybody healthy. Your two options, honestly, in my opinion, are you don't bring anyone up and you just try to keep them healthy, or you bring them all up in April so that they can tear the muscle right away.
Get it down to the back by the middle of next year.
and get them back by mid 2026 or to start 2027, because they're all these star pitchers. I even think that with Roki Sasaki, who the new Dodgers Japanese phenom, I'm like, he's getting Tommy John. It's just whether or not you want him to get Tommy John right now or you want him to get Tommy John a year from now. But they're all getting Tommy John. Everybody's getting Tommy John. Your argument that he should be in the Hall of Fame is just getting stronger by.
I absolutely believe it. He is the most famous pitcher in the history of baseball.
It's true.
It may not be for what he produced on the field, although he was very good. He was close to Hall of Fame on what he produced on the field.
Yeah.
But his fame is greater than Cy Young's.
Yeah. And I mean, look at Lou Gehrig. We all know him for Lou Gehrig's disease, but no one's ever heard of him doing anything on the baseball field.
Well, he played a game or two.
Who did he even play for? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, after the first 10 or 12 years, he took a day off. I mean, what kind of lazy bum is he?
Yeah. So, I think Tommy John should be there as well. No, I do actually think Tommy John should be in the Hall of Fame for multiple reasons. There are worse players in the Hall of Fame, and the guy's more famous than all of them.
He's a very, very good pitcher.
Yeah. That is about all the time we have for this week.
Okay, before we go, I put myself on the line because this will be our last one before the season starts. I said 54 and 108. The Athletic yesterday went with 58 and 104.
That's insane.
The range of predictions from the experts has been anywhere from 112 or so losses to about 101. Nobody's been under 100. I don't think.
Everyone's too scared to think it could happen again.
It could be 130. I know it could be. The pitching is going to be. There's nothing that's happened since last year other than Brandon Drury hitting really well that makes you think this is a better team than last year.
Why would
It,
they
it,
be?
it just isn't.
No, I mean
No,
you've
you
got
get
to
put yourself on the line. I'm because I think things happened last year that just there were some bad. It's hard to lose 121 games. If it
It's
was
really
easy,
hard.
somebody would have done it before. So that's why I'm going with the 108. I mean, I'm a fan, so I'm looking for him to really get up there and only lose 108. What's your number?
I'm going to be conservative because I think the actual feeling within me is that they are going to break last year's record.
Ooh,
However, I am going to say 117 and 40 and
45.
Yeah. I'm going to say 117 and
Okay,
45.
okay, we're on
Now,
record.
I think I am going to lose by being under in losses.
Well, we can see if Venable makes some kind of. It's
Sorry,
not like
I
a
should
manager
I
makes
should
a huge difference,
clarify.
but I think Venable will make some improvement.
I should clarify because we only talk in losses for the White Sox. I just said I think they're going to be 117 and 45.
Oh, you got
I need to clarify that I think they're going to be 45 and 117.
well, it would have been a nice record the other way.
Yeah, I've placed some bets with a couple of my former Dodger coworkers that if the White Sox win the World Series and the Dodgers don't next year, I am going to be so rich. I am going to be so rich.
What
So
you get like 10,000 to $1?
it's actually more than 10,000 to $1. If the White Sox don't win the World Series, I will be $2 poorer. But if they win the World Series, I am going to be we're going on vacation. We're of course going to be season ticket holders after that. It's going to be great. But all right, that is all the time we have today. We will see you probably when the season is underway.
Yeah.
Depending on how my schedule works out in Cincinnati, how much the Reds need me there doing reconnaissance work. But yeah, that is all the time we have. It's almost time for official opening day of Major League Baseball, the one in the United States, and it's always good to have baseball back. It's always exciting, and I think there's going to be a lot of interesting things to follow this season. I'm not sure the White Sox fall in that category.
The White Sox are not on national television once, not a single time, by any of the 6 or 7 people who carry national games.
Wow, I'm surprised that. Because they do play the Dodgers 3 times. I'm surprised because that's essentially guaranteed wins for the Dodgers that they didn't finagle one of those into
of course,
a national game.
they play all the good teams. You play everybody now, so
yeah,
still not.
Wow, that's crazy. All right, well, we'll see how it goes. But baseball is almost back. Until then, enjoy the most exciting sporting event outside of baseball and all of sports. March Madness is underway as we speak. My bracket was busted during the recording of this podcast, which is exciting as well. And we will catch you next time on Sharing Sox.